When deciding your niche, forget about value, because what is valuable to you may not be valuable to somebody else, and vice versa. Take, for example, the Wiggles, the children's entertainers. Now, if you would have said to somebody 50 years ago, is there a market, is there value, is there a demand for a group of grown men to sing children's songs on stage dressed in brightly coloured skivvies? You would have said, no, there is no market for that. But because the Wiggles and their passion for what they did, they were all educators that cared for children. There's a long story behind that. If you're interested, it's very interesting to find out. But they were passionate about it, and they went to the States and they were playing in front of 0 crowds. At one stage they were playing in front of a crowd with 5 people, and the 5 people were their employees or PR people. So when you're trying to decide your niche, you've got to brainstorm about your skills, interests and struggles. Now, brainstorming means every idea is valid. So you have to write down everything. If you're thinking about value, where there's a hole in the market that you can fill, that's not the way to go, because if you're not passionate or if you're not passionate or interested in something, you're not going to last at it. And this is something you want to be doing for a very long time, hopefully for the rest of your life. You could actually argue that you don't need value at all, because you can create value, like the Wiggles created value. Like Post-it notes. Before Post-it notes, there was absolutely no demand for colourful squares of sticky paper. And then somebody invented it and it became valuable. So skills, interests and struggles, combining those will find you your niche. This leads into a real life example I had when I was helping a lady. She wanted something to do with her time. She used to work in retail fashion, and she said, look, I need something to do. She didn't care if it was a job or being self-employed again. So we had a conversation, and after about 20 minutes I started to panic a bit, because I couldn't find a through line. I couldn't find something to grab onto. All of her experience was very generic. Then finally she said, there is something. And I said, yes. And she said, oh no. I said, no, tell me, what is it? And she said, well, I like origami, which is the Japanese art of paper folding. And to her, that was of no value, because she didn't want to mention it to me, and she only really mentioned it to me under duress. So she said origami. Now to her, that had no meaning. But to me, ding, 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 bing, 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 because at the time I was a careers consultant. So when she said that to me, the next thing I did was called up 2 local boutique chocolate manufacturers. And I said, I have somebody here who does origami. And they said, send her down straight away. So what happened is she got a job there working 20 hours a week with her dexterous fingers, packing chocolates. And I said, we also had this idea about, which I really wanted to do with her, which was a workshop where she could run a workshop, and it would be called Origami Against Anxiety. And I said, do you still want to do this workshop? Because I think it's such a hot idea that I would actually do it with you, because I think it's a really powerful, beautiful thing to do. And she said, no, I'm happy. I've got my 20 hours a week. I've made all these new friends in this chocolate factory. It sounded like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And she said, I'm very happy, and I don't want to do the origami for anxiety anymore. So the point of that story is, she almost didn't mention origami to me because she saw it as low value. For her, at that point in her life, it was the most valuable thing for her, because it got her that job at the chocolate factory. So when you're deciding your niche and you're making your list of skills, interests and struggles, and by the way, a good way to do that is to walk around where you live, and every object in your home, if it's to do with you, write it down, even if it's that book that's fallen behind the other books. That could be the key to you finding your niche. So skills, interests and strengths, write everything down, and be very careful of the word value, because what you value, other people may not value. That's all. Have a grateful day.